In the crystalline depths of the Veil Nebula, where stars bled into swirling veils of ionized gas, the Silfari dominion stretched across 1,000 systems. At its heart stood the eternal spire, a living megastructure grown from quantum coral and psionic resonance crystals. There ruled Queen Lyrael Voss, the Void Queen, sovereign of the Silfari, a graceful, ethereal species whose bodies shimmered like living auroras. Their power came not from machines or brute force, but from the echo, a perfect collective consciousness that bound every Silfari mind into harmonious symphony. Decisions flowed instantly, emotions harmonized. The Dominion had endured for 10,000 cycles without rebellion or stagnation. Queen Lyrael was the strongest echo-bearer in history. Her 6 slender limbs moved with liquid grace. Her skin shifted through colors that expressed pure thought, and her crown of floating crystal shards sang with the voices of 1,000,000 ancestors. She had crushed rebellions with a thought, negotiated treaties that reshaped galactic trade routes, and expanded the Dominion by weaving entire species into the echo, without a single shot fired. Yet, on the 947th cycle of her reign, the echo began to fracture. It started as whispers, faint dissonances in the lower hives. Workers on the outer crystal farms reported fleeting silences where the collective song should have been. Then came the first true breaks. Isolated Silfari who awoke unable to feel the minds of their clutchmates. Panic rippled through the spire. The queen summoned her harmonic council, 12 ancient advisors, whose combined echo formed the backbone of governance. "The fracture spreads," said High Harmonic Serath, his form flickering with worry. "It devours connections like a shadow in light. Our greatest minds cannot trace its origin. If it reaches the core crystal, the entire Dominion will shatter into 1,000,000 isolated souls. Madness and death will follow. Queen Lyrael's crown, dimmed, find the source. Seal the borders. We will not fall." Scouts, diplomats, and elite resonance knights were dispatched across known space. They returned with tales of a growing anomaly, a region of dead space where no echo could penetrate, a void that swallowed psionic signals and left only silence. Worse, the fracture was accelerating. Entire colonies went dark overnight. The queen's own dreams, once shared seamlessly with her people, became haunted by a single recurring image, a lone figure standing in absolute darkness, untouched by any song. In desperation, the council turned to forbidden archives. Ancient texts spoke of beings from beyond the mapped veil, wanderers who existed outside any collective, whose minds were singular and unbreakable. Most species feared them as abominations. The Silfari had long avoided contact, believing such isolation led only to chaos. But now they had no choice. General Vale, commander of the Resonance Knights, volunteered for the final mission. "I will seek one such being If their singular mind resists the fracture, perhaps they can teach us how to survive it. The queen granted permission, though her voice carried doubt. Bring back hope, General, or do not return. Vale's sleek crystal ship slipped through the nebula's folds and entered the silent expanse, a sector avoided by every starfaring civilization. Sensors detected a single anomalous signal, a small, battered vessel broadcasting no collective signature, only raw, unfiltered transmissions in an unknown language. The ship's hull was patched with mismatched alloys. Its engines hummed with inefficient but stubborn power. Vale boarded with a full honor guard of knights, their bodies glowing with defensive resonances. Inside the vessel, they found a single occupant. He called himself Cale Thorne. He was tall for a biped, with scarred skin the color of weathered stone, dark hair streaked with silver, and eyes that held the quiet intensity of someone who had stared into voids far deeper than space. His clothing was practical: reinforced jacket, utility belt heavy with tools, and boots worn from countless repairs. No crown, no glowing aura, just a lone figure sitting at a makeshift console, humming an off-key tune to himself. The knights raised their resonant staves, ready to subdue the outsider. Kyle looked up slowly, unfazed. "You're louder than my old reactor core. Mind turning down whatever psychic storm you're broadcasting? It's giving me a headache." Vale's form flared in surprise. The outsider's mind was completely closed, not blocked, but naturally singular. No echo, no shared song. Just one clear, defiant voice inside his own skull. "You exist alone?" Vale asked, the words trembling with disbelief. Kyle shrugged. "Always have. Name's Cale. Salvager, engineer, occasional troublemaker. You lot look like you're about to faint. What's the emergency?" Queen Lirael watched the live resonance feed from the spire. For the first time in centuries, she felt genuine uncertainty. This being's mind was a blank wall to her echo, terrifying, yet strangely intriguing. "Bring him," she commanded. The journey back to the Eternal Spire was tense. Cale spent most of it in the engineering bay, casually repairing systems the Sylphari considered sacred and untouchable. He whistled while working, a habit that made the night's crystals vibrate with discomfort. "You fix things by singing?" one knight asked, horrified. "Nah," Kyle replied, tightening a bolt with a wrench. "I fix them by understanding how they break. Singing just keeps me company. You should try it sometime. Might stop your whole species from sounding like a dying orchestra." When they arrived, the queen received him in the grand resonance chamber. Towering crystal arches sang with the voices of billions. Lirael descended from her throne, her form shifting through shades of imperial violet and gold. "Outsider," she said, her voice a perfect melody that usually bent wills. "Your kind is unknown to us. You possess no echo, yet you stand before the Void Queen unafraid. Explain yourself." Cale looked around, taking in the breathtaking beauty and power. Nice place. Bit echoey, though. As for me, I'm just a guy who learned to rely on himself. Galaxies full of collectives, hives, empires. I prefer my own 2 hands and a good toolkit. Got pulled into your space by a rift storm while scavenging. Didn't expect the welcome committee. The Queen probed gently with her echo. It slid off, Kael's mind like water on oiled crystal. No fear, no submission, only calm curiosity and a stubborn core of self-reliance that felt almost solid. The fracture devours our echo, Lyrael admitted, lowering her crown slightly. It leaves my people isolated, screaming in silence. If you truly stand apart, perhaps you can see what we cannot. Help us, and you will be rewarded beyond measure. Refuse, and you will share our fate. Kael scratched his chin. I've seen silence before. Lost my crew once to a black hole anomaly. Took me years to stop hearing their voices in my head. Or rather, to accept they were only in mine. Tell you what, show me this fracture up close. No mind tricks, no forcing me into your song. I worked my way. The council protested loudly, bringing an echoless being into the heart of the anomaly. Was madness. But the Queen raised a limb, silencing them. So be it, you will accompany me personally. They traveled in the Queen's private vessel, a living crystal shard that responded to her thoughts. Kael insisted on riding in the engineering section, where he could tinker. Lyrael joined him there, curious despite herself. You repair with physical tools, she observed, watching him reroute power with wires and solder. We shape reality with will and resonance. Why limit yourself? Kael smiled faintly. Because when the will fails, and it always does eventually, the tools are still there. Your echo is beautiful, but it's fragile. One break and everything collapses. My way? One part fails. I fix it or work around it. Life keeps going. As they approached the fracture zone, the ship's crystals began to dim. The harmonious song that filled every Sylphari vessel faded into painful static. Knights clutched their heads. Lyrael herself felt a terrifying emptiness creeping into her mind. Kael, however, remained unaffected. He stepped to the viewport and stared into the swirling darkness. Looks like a dead zone. No signals, no fields, nothing connecting. Reminds me of deep space salvage runs where comms die and you're truly alone with your thoughts. The Queen's form flickered with pain. It is consuming us. Without the echo, we lose purpose, identity. We become, like you, alone. Kael turned to her. Being alone isn't the end. It's the beginning. You learn who you really are when no one else is singing your song for you. He proposed a bold plan. Instead of trying to restore the collective immediately, they would create anchor points, physical devices that could store and retransmit individual resonances without relying on the living echo. Kael designed them using a hybrid of Sylphari crystal tech and his own rugged, low-tech engineering principles. Redundant circuits, manual overrides, and simple mechanical fail-safes. The Queen worked alongside him in the ship's lab. For the first time in her long life, she shaped matter with her hands instead of pure will. It was clumsy, frustrating, liberating. "You make mistakes on purpose?" she asked after her third failed crystal lattice. "Sometimes," Kyle laughed. "Mistakes teach better than perfection. Your people forgot how to fail because the Echo never let anyone fall alone. That's why the fracture hurts so much. It forces you to stand on your own." As they deployed the first anchor near a dying colony, something remarkable happened. Isolated Silphari, cut off from the collective, began to stabilize. They didn't regain the full echo, but they started communicating directly. Voice, gestures, written symbols. They formed small, voluntary groups instead of automatic hives. Some even chose to remain partially separate, discovering personal talents long suppressed by the collective harmony. The Queen watched in quiet awe as a young Silphari artist created a new form of resonant sculpture that expressed individual emotion rather than shared perfection. It was chaotic, imperfect, breathtaking, yet the fracture fought back. A massive surge erupted from the core of the dead zone, threatening to swallow the entire spire. Resonance? Nights fell into catatonic silence. The Queen herself felt her crown cracking, her connection to billions fraying. In that moment of crisis, Lirael turned to Kyle. "I am losing them, all of them. What do I do?" Kale took her crystalline hand, an act no Silphari would normally allow. "You don't save them by holding tighter. You teach them to save themselves. Sing not one song, but many. Let them choose their own harmony." With the last of her strength, the Queen broadcast a new resonance, not a command to unify, but an invitation. Remember who you are when no one else remembers for you. Kyle activated every anchor point simultaneously. The devices didn't restore the old echo. They created something new, a network of voices, a decentralized web where individual, Silphari minds could connect by choice, share strength voluntarily, and still retain their singular selves. The fracture howled in rage as its food source, total dependence, was denied. It lashed out one final time, but the new network absorbed the blow, distributed the damage, and healed through countless small, individual acts of resilience. When the storm passed, the eternal spire still stood, but it sang differently. Not one perfect melody, but a rich, living chorus of distinct voices weaving together by choice. Queen Lirael stood on the highest balcony with Kale. Her crown had reformed, but now it contained shards of many colors, not uniform, but beautifully varied. "You have changed everything," she said softly. "My people feared singularity. You showed us its strength. I feared losing control. You taught me that true leadership is letting go. Kyle leaned on the railing, gazing at the nebula. I didn't do much, just reminded you that even the most beautiful symphony needs soloists. Otherwise, it's just noise. The Queen's form shifted to a warm, golden hue, an expression of deep gratitude and something new, personal affection. Stay with us, Cale Thorne, not as a subject, but as a partner. Help us build this new dominion where voices can sing alone and together. Cale thought for a long moment. I've been alone a long time. Might be nice to have company that doesn't try to fill my head with everyone else's thoughts. Deal, but I get to keep tinkering. And no more perfect harmonies at 3 a.m. Lyrael's laughter rang out, clear, individual, and joyful. From that cycle onward, the Sylphari Dominion evolved. It became known across the galaxy as the Chorus of Free Voices. Oi, civilization stronger because it no longer feared silence. Travelers spoke in awe of the Void Queen, who learned to value the lone echo, and of the outsider engineer whose stubborn singularity saved an empire. And sometimes, on quiet nights in the spire, a simple off-key whistle could be heard drifting through the crystal halls. The sound of a human reminding an entire species that being alone doesn't mean being lost. It meant being free. The end.